Welcome to the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi After the Show podcast.
It's Group Therapy Thursday. Let's get better together. Group therapy, where you tell us and share with us something you've learned, like a takeaway. And you know what? Maybe you've never been in therapy. And if you haven't, though, you've picked up mental health, goods along the way in life. We all do. And sometimes one thing will stick out and stick with you. It just happens that way. And it's sometimes what you needed to hear, right? Mm-hmm. So from our Facebook and Instagram pages, Stacy sent this: the most transformative advice from therapy. Show yourself the grace you so willingly extend to others.
That's a big one. And I've heard that one too. God, it is so true because sometimes we forget to do that.
Taylor has told me that. Our oldest daughter, Taylor, who is studying to be a mental health counselor, she's told me that before. It's like, why are you saying that to yourself? Would you say that to a friend who came to you with this sort of issue? It's like, oh, no. Yeah. Speak to yourself like you would a best friend.
Many of the stresses and issues come from your own internal self-talk.
Oh, my gosh, so much. So I'll read that again for anybody. That's from Stacy. Show yourself the same grace you so willingly extend to others. That's a good one.
Thank you, Stacy.
Crystal sent this, what she learned from therapy, like a takeaway that stays with her. Responding instead of reacting. Taking a breath before responding, and absolutely forgiving myself so that I can forgive others. So that's a dual thing. Learning to respond instead of react.
Man, we're 2 for 2 here. Both of these are ringing my bell.
Yeah. I have had to learn, and I'm still learning it. I'm definitely in it right now in life, trying to just let things be before responding.
Yes. That my one takeaway. I was going to say that my one takeaway is similar. Is the same thing. Pause before reacting.
Yeah,
pause before reacting to others or to yourself.
To others.
You should do it for both.
Yeah, I know.
Pause. Honestly, it really is one of those we forget to, because it's the same thing. It's a negative self-talk thing. That pause before responding to others, obviously, yes, because you sometimes can't undo whatever words come out.
Yeah.
But that same impact, if it's directed at you internally, is just as destructive. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
I think one of the reasons, and maybe you feel this way too, Sam, since that one speaks to you, one of the reasons I've had a tendency to respond quickly, and if I place that person or the relationship in high regard, if it's family and that person is very important to me, well, of course I'm going to call right away if there's something to talk about, or of course we're going to discuss it now, when I should let whatever's going on settle in.
Yeah.
I had that experience this week. I picked up the phone and made a call when I should have waited an hour, 30 minutes to talk about something. And it's true.
Yeah, it's so true. It's and don't confuse the word quick and emotional. It's really about pausing for the emotional response. If your quickness is being driven by an emotional reaction, that should be your mental trigger to stop. Easier said than done, but once you start to create the habit of doing it, and they actually do say that's where meditation starts to work. If you do it repeatedly, 10 minutes a day, over and over and over, whether it's a guided one using an app or whatever, that eventually you start to, because you're focusing on the present, you start to create the gaps in your mind, because when you're...
That'll help you not react too quickly to something or too emotionally?
Well, why? Because you're in the present. Once you are in an emotional state, you're not in the present anymore. You're either worried about the future or you're limiting something from the past or whatever. You're not, because the only thing you actually can control is in the present anyway, right? So, but it's again easier said than done. But that's why they say it's a practice thing. At least for me personally, I've seen the benefit in that.
Good.
Because I slow down a lot more now. I know the pang that comes to me from an emotional reaction, and that's directly come from meditation, because you're sitting with yourself and feelings and thoughts, and you are acknowledging them, you let them go. You're not trying to control them. You're not trying to react to them. You're not trying to do anything other than acknowledge them. And once you do that, and you start to practice that can be really helpful. And it works really for both ways. For your own internal self-talk, so that you don't immediately go from an emotion to, oh my God, I'm the worst, or the way that you would vocalize it to somebody
so
else.
You've heard inside my head, haven't you?
Oh my God, I'm the worst.
It's just it's one of the biggest things that I have learned. But, Jodi, you haven't really done a ton of counseling over the years. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Is that your biggest takeaway, though? What you're talking about right now with the pausing?
No, I haven't shared my takeaway yet.
Okay.
I want to go back to this, Sam, with you.
You want me to tell you about my childhood?
No, I want to ask regarding the pausing.
Yeah, it was told to me in therapy, but what's really funny about this is Murphy in the corporate world has also, it has played into the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I'll get an email or somebody will tell me something and I'll instantly want to and it's like, you don't know the whole story yet. There's a reason that person said that, or there's something or whatever. Figure it out first, and then you can have your reaction.
So it was told to you in therapy regarding personal stuff, but you're saying you've also experienced it in Murphy.
Well, what Murphy corporately, yes, but it also relates to the personal story because there are things in my personal life where you instantly want to go boom and explode.
Right. This is what's going on. Or
I've had anger issues. So it's like, wait, you got to find the whole story. Maybe there's a reason for this. Figure it out. What's the other person thinking?
Right. Yeah.
Yada, yada, yada.
The reason it's so tricky I think in the personal world with family, with loved ones, with relationships, is because there's so much baggage there. One word, the word "you always do this" or "this always happens" or something, some little statement like that means 1,000 pounds more than just the statement because of the baggage, because of the problems, because of someone's perception.
Because of the history.
The history, right. And so it's a very, very tricky thing. I had a friend of mine who is a counselor tell me one time when she has a couple come to her, she knows, it's so much more than the words they're saying. They're bringing in a big bag of stuff that you can't see, but they're both bringing in a big bag of stuff.
Yeah.
And so even when they start to say something to each other back and forth that would be lighter if you had just met, it has weight when you have history and baggage. And that is so true. As if you're in a family, if you are in relationships, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
So is that one your biggest takeaway, Sam, from the counseling? Since Jodi's asking for the one thing, would you say pausing is the one
I don't know
thing?
if it's the biggest. I can't think of the biggest right
sure,
now. But
that's okay. No pressure.
When we started talking about this, it's like that's the first thing that jumped into my head because you can ask my kids. I was always a fast responder. And it's like, whoa, you don't know the whole situation. Why did you hit that person or what?
Right.
Figure it out. And then, and also too, it helps for the anger because time is passing. And even if it is your kid's fault or whoever the person is you wanted to attack in the first place.
Yeah.
Because time goes by, you're likely to temper your reaction.
Yeah.
Instead of just kaboom exploding right off the bat.
Well, that's why they say sleep on it.
Yeah, sleeping on it.
I don't always sleep on things, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're emotional creatures. It's tough to do that, but that will be the single biggest beneficial thing for your own stress, your own personal physical health, and everything, your mental health, and all of it. So, what about you, Jodi? I'm sorry.
I was going to say, the more in you are, the more you love someone, the more important the relationship, the worse that kaboom feels.
Yeah.
Or the worse your reaction can feel.
Yeah. Well, emotions also tend to personalize everything, and we make the grave mistake of thinking that we are the center of our own universe. And when we do that, unintentionally, and when I say that, it's because, especially when if you're feeling like you are being attacked, or if you feel that anything that you attach the emotional bag, like you were talking about, Jodi, to, puts you on the defensive. And once you stay in that emotional mode, you're not going to be responding correctly to the person that you're talking to, or to to yourself personally.
Yeah.
Okay. Now that you asked me that and you said that, Murphy, it reminded me of one of the other ones, and this one was a big one when I was in relationships. It's focus on the issue at hand.
Oh, nice.
Because
wow, big
couples, especially when you start arguing, just like you said, all the baggage that comes in.
It's years of stuff.
If we're talking about something you did yesterday at dinner, stick to that. Don't bring up, when your mom came over 3 weeks ago, and then it goes back and back.
Or
and
5 years ago.
Whoa. We're talking about this right now. And in my relationships and my breaking up of marriages, there have been conversations, and I have, for those, even way back then, I learned to try to steer it back to, hey, we're
Right
talking
now.
about this right now, so we can do that later, but let's fix this right now.
Nice. Yeah.
Even
That's
though it's my
hard work.
fault, let's fix this right now.
It's hard work.
Oh,
I feel
yeah.
like we're always on the, our whole lives, we're going to work on ourselves. You get this life, you live it, and you are the trickiest thing that there is. And managing you and your emotions and your mental health is the trickiest thing in the world. That's why I'm so glad that mental health is just so on the forefront today, and we're all willing to talk about it. That's why we're going to do group therapy Thursdays on Thursdays, either in this podcast or in the show, in all the ways, because we cannot stop working on ourselves.
Yeah.
We just can't.
So what is the one thing that you ever picked up?
I think you know this story. I only ever went to counseling twice in my life. After my father died when I was a teenager, and I was forced to go there. My family was like, you've got to talk to somebody. And I didn't go for very long. And then later in my life, Murphy, we were married. There was someone that came into my life, into the family, that made me uncomfortable. And it was like this whole, hey, I'm here now. I'm in your life. And I was struggling with it. And I was struggling with how to be around this person.
Yeah.
I was struggling with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember being in the room, and I told her that she was great. She was a great counselor. I said, I don't really want to be here, but I'm going to do what you tell me to do. And she was wonderful. And she sent me home like the first day with early on with some homework. What are you going to do about this person taking your power from you? Because you're letting this person take your power from you. You don't know who you are when this person is around. Why is that? And just that assignment, I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And so I came back to her and she was ready to hear. She opened up her folder, and I said, here's what I have for you. I'm not going to let anybody take my power from me, no matter who's in the room.
Yeah.
And so that was my takeaway, but that was very specific to my situation. I don't know if that little nugget does anything for anybody here. But if you do feel lesser around someone, or if you do feel confused about your identity or whoever you are around certain people, work on keeping your own power. Not letting people take your power at work and your personal life.
Yeah, I think that's very relevant. It's what you're really talking about is boundary setting, and you allow somebody to cross your boundaries without without them even knowing it.
Right.
In this case, I know this was without going into too much detail, it was an identity challenge. It was somebody who was coming into the family who was kind of establishing themselves as already being part of the family, which made a lot of people feel awkward. And I think that you handled that part, very well. So, that applies, I think, to any part of our lives when we allow somebody else's actions upon us to take such a toll on us that we then no longer
we're not the
are
same.
focused and realize we're not, because we become reactive at that point. That really, it's like the blame game without realizing you're putting the blame. When you're letting somebody victimize you, for lack of a better term, at some point it becomes you allowing that, you painting those pictures, you creating that narrative in some cases. And I'm not talking about abuse and that kind of stuff. I'm talking about, being inside of our own heads on things and, feeling, what's the word? Obsessing, maybe? Allowing something to take so much of your attention, time,
your energy,
and energy away from
precious
you,
energy.
right? Exactly. That when you refocus back on yourself, it's a healthy thing.
Yeah.
I
Now
think
look,
it's
that was work I needed to do. It was information that I needed, and I got a lot out of it. But that was I remember that day thinking, this is not just beneficial for this situation. This is beneficial for my life.
Yeah.
Why are you letting this person take your power?
Well, and you know what? I mean, being married to you, and as long as we've been together, I've watched that over the years, because you're a kind, caring person, and you have such great empathy for other people. Sometimes you will let that draw you into whatever it is they're feeling, acting, or whatever at the moment.
Yeah.
And you've created better boundaries over the years of being, who you are. And it doesn't come from a bad place. It comes from a good place. But, I think anybody who's really sensitive and cares about others, it's easy to get to that trap where all of a sudden you care so much you forget
it for them. Or
you're right, that you got to save yourself before you can save somebody else,
Yes,
right.
yes. I don't know why you had an amen over there for that, Sam.
No reason. I'm going to pause before I react.
Okay, great. Murphy, your big takeaway from therapy.
I mean, I stay, in it. I don't know. I'm not making assumptions. I think I'm the only one in the room that still keeps regular appointments and have nonstop now for 11 years. And the biggest one for me, actually, it was with a different counselor from a long time ago, Jodi, and you remember this one, and it just stood out to me. And she wrote this on a card. She said, "Remember, 95 is an A." And what she meant by that is that when you're a perfectionist, you're always shooting for 100%. And that in school, which I think is a fantastic analogy, a 94 or 95, whatever it is an A. Why do you need to do better than that? Why that you will put so much time, effort, and attention into that last 6% that you're literally wasting your time. You've already achieved an A. Why keep pushing past that? And perfectionism, which is something that I'm probably will be for the rest of my life. It's what drives me. It's a slippery slope because I also embrace it in me. It's what keeps me going. I think y'all know that. We've worked together for so long. You know that I'm not really satisfied with the status quo on anything. To me, by the time something becomes status quo, it's time to change it because you're going to get left behind if you don't make a change. And most people are fine with status quo. It's just human nature. We fall into task list, and the world is not. I don't know that we're actually always taught to be thinking that way. We all get to a place of complacency. So I never wanted to knee jerk in either direction. But I have to remember that a 94 is an A, and the other thing.
Do you still say that to yourself sometimes?
Yeah, I'll remind myself of that.
That's good.
But even making decisions, there are all sorts of there are management books on this sort of thing too, where there are people that will say once you've got 75% of the information,
you
need to make the decision because what hurts businesses and beyond more than anything else is indecision. The more time that you don't take an action, somebody else is going to take an action before you do, or something. And so if you're waiting for all of the information, you're not going to make the decision. And so it plays into the same thing. But I have to really consciously remind myself of that.
Good.
And in some schools, a 90 is an A.
Yeah, right.
You can even relax more, Murphy.
Right, no kidding.
It's Group Therapy Thursday. Keep it coming on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. We love hearing from you.
Missed any part of the show? Get it all on the Murphy, Sam, and Jodi podcast.